On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a man using the name D.B. Cooper walked into Portland International Airport in Oregon and purchased a one-way ticket to Seattle. He was described as calm, well-dressed, and unremarkable. He wore a dark suit, a white shirt, and a black tie. Nothing about his appearance suggested that within hours he would commit one of the most unusual crimes in American history. The flight was Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a short trip north to Seattle, Washington. There were 36 passengers and a small flight crew on board. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to a flight attendant. At first, she assumed it was a phone number and placed it in her pocket. Cooper quietly asked her to read it. The note stated that he had a bomb. When the attendant looked back at him, Cooper calmly opened his briefcase just enough to show what appeared to be explosive devices and wires. He did not raise his voice. He did not threaten anyone directly. He simply explained what he wanted. Cooper demanded $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. He specified the denominations of the bills and gave clear instructions. The crew relayed the message to authorities, and the plane circled the Seattle area while the demands were met. During this time, Cooper behaved politely. He ordered a bourbon and soda. He paid for his drink. He spoke calmly with the flight attendants and showed no signs of panic or aggression. When the plane landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, the passengers were released unharmed. The money and parachutes were delivered on board. Cooper then instructed the crew to refuel the aircraft and prepare for takeoff once again. This time, the destination was Mexico City. Cooper requested a specific flight configuration. The plane was to fly at low altitude at a slow speed, with the landing gear down and the rear air stair deployed. The Boeing 727 was one of the few commercial aircraft capable of being flown this way. Shortly after the plane took off from Seattle, somewhere over the Pacific Northwest, a warning light indicated that the rear air stair had been lowered. At approximately 8:13 p.m., Cooper jumped from the aircraft into the night. He was never seen again. The plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada, with the remaining crew on board. Inside, investigators found Cooper's black tie and 2 of the parachutes. The bomb was never recovered. The FBI immediately launched an extensive investigation. They searched large areas of Washington and Oregon, focusing on forests, rivers, and remote terrain. Despite weeks of searching, no trace of Cooper was found. One of the central questions was whether Cooper survived the jump. He leapt into darkness, in poor weather, over rugged terrain, wearing a business suit and loafers. He carried the ransom money strapped to his body. Some investigators believed survival would have been unlikely. Others noted that Cooper seemed knowledgeable about aviation and parachuting. In 1980, nearly 9 years later, a partial breakthrough occurred. A young boy discovered deteriorated bundles of $20 bills along the banks of the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched the ransom money from Flight 305. No additional money was ever found, and no parachute or remains were recovered. Over the decades, hundreds of suspects were investigated. Some were former military personnel, others had parachuting experience or lived in the region. None were definitively linked to the crime. The FBI officially closed the active investigation in 2016, citing a lack of new evidence. The case remains unsolved. To this day, no one knows who D.B. Cooper really was, whether he survived the jump, or what ultimately happened to the ransom money. The case stands as the only unsolved air piracy in United States history. It is remembered not for violence, but for its restraint. No passengers were harmed. No shots were fired. and a man vanished into the night, leaving behind questions that remain unanswered more than 50 years later. Thank you for taking the time to watch this story. If you found it informative, consider liking the video and subscribing for more carefully researched true crime cases. New stories are added regularly, and your support helps the channel continue its work.